Welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
This time, we're looking at Europe's most successful academics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're calling them the research elite for this deep dive.
Oh, wait, research elite. I like that.
And we're going to be working from a really interesting large-scale study here.
Okay.
It looked at over 17,000 academics
Wow.
across 11 European countries in 5 major research fields.
Okay.
And one of the most interesting things that they found was this 10-50 rule.
10-50 rule.
Yeah, basically it means that the top 10% of academics produce almost 50% of all published research.
That's a lot of output coming from a small group.
Yeah, it really is. So naturally, we want to know, like, who are these research powerhouses?
Right.
What sets them apart from everybody else? Are they all just working like 24/7, or is there something else?
Well, I think one thing we can get rid of right away is that stereotype of the workaholic professor,
Oh, interesting.
who's sacrificing everything for their research.
And you're saying the study's telling us that they're not all burning the midnight oil?
Yeah, it's not that simple. The top performers do tend to work longer hours,
Okay.
but the difference isn't as big as you might think. And actually, in some countries like Ireland, Italy, and Poland,
Yeah, okay.
average academics spend even more time teaching than the research superstars.
Wait, so you're saying that the researchers in those countries who are focusing more on teaching are potentially just as productive
It seems to be the case.
as those who are spending way more time on research?
Yeah, it really challenges that assumption that you have to pick, teaching or research. Maybe more balanced approach is actually better.
That makes you wonder if just focusing solely on research is always the best strategy.
Yeah.
So if it's not just about longer hours, what else did this study find? What about this international flair that was mentioned in the material?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The top performers are way more likely to be internationally connected.
Okay.
We're talking collaborating with researchers in other countries, publishing in international journals, and focusing their work on global issues.
So these are researchers with a more global perspective.
Exactly, and I think that's key.
Okay.
When you're collaborating internationally, you're exposed to way more perspectives and ideas.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like cross-pollinating knowledge.
Yeah.
Which can lead to some breakthroughs that might not happen if you're just working within one country.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like two heads are better than one,
Yeah,
but on a global scale.
exactly.
But I'm curious, does this focus on international collaboration have any downsides?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
You have to wonder if it disadvantages researchers who are focused on local or regional issues.
Right?
It's a tough question,
Yeah, definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
Now, let's switch gears a little bit here and talk about mentorship.
Okay.
You always hear about how crucial it is for young academics to have a strong mentor early on in their career.
Right.
Did this study find that to be true?
Well, this was one of the more surprising findings. Having a lot of faculty guidance didn't actually increase a researcher's chances of reaching that top 10%.
Wow, that is unexpected. I always thought mentorship was like a guarantee for success in academia.
It seems like the relationship between mentorship and success is more complex than we thought.
Okay.
Mentorship is still super valuable.
Yeah.
But maybe that traditional one-on-one guidance isn't the only path.
So maybe it's more about finding the right kind of mentorship for you and not just assuming any mentorship is good mentorship.
Exactly. Think about it less as like a one-size-fits-all
Okay.
and more about like an environment where different forms of mentorship can exist and work.
That makes sense.
Recognizing that some researchers might do better with independent exploration, while others need more structure.
Okay, so we've got researchers who are internationally connected
Right.
and potentially benefiting from a more balanced approach to research and teaching.
Yeah.
But what about experience? I imagine that plays a big role too.
Oh, absolutely. And as you'd expect, the study found that seniority, like achieving full professor, really increased the likelihood of being a research powerhouse.
Okay, that makes sense. Years of experience building up knowledge in their networks, it's got to lead to more productivity.
Yeah,
But what about just age in general? Did that factor in?
it did. The study found that age also played a role in predicting top performance,
Interesting.
especially in countries like Ireland, Switzerland, and Portugal.
But doesn't this raise concerns about how younger researchers are supported, though?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, are we unintentionally creating a system that favors those who are already established?
That's a valid point, and I think the study really highlights the need to create supportive environments for those early career academics,
Right.
making sure they have access to funding, to mentorship, and to opportunities to collaborate and network,
Okay.
both in their country and internationally.
Yeah, those are all great points. But this brings up another question that I found really interesting in the material. It's the impact of institutional factors, things like funding and administrative support.
Right.
I would think those things would be huge.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But surprisingly, those factors had very little impact on whether an academic reached that top 10%.
Wait, so it's not this external support.
Yeah.
What's driving these researchers? What's motivating them to be so productive?
Well, the authors have this interesting theory that
Okay.
they call it the sacred spark theory.
The sacred spark. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So basically, they're suggesting that some people are just born with this intrinsic motivation to do research.
Okay.
It's this inner drive that pushes them to explore, to discover, to push those boundaries of knowledge.
Oh.
And this passion, this sacred spark, might be the most powerful predictor of all.
So you're saying it's not just about the resources or the environment.
Right.
It's about a deeper, almost inherent drive to do research.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, right?
It is.
That despite all these external factors we think are so important, the most crucial element could be this internal flame, this sacred spark that just ignites that passion for discovery.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if some people are just wired differently when it comes to research.
Right.
Like they're drawn to it in a way that others just aren't.
It's a really compelling idea. And I think it reminds us that while data can reveal a lot,
Yeah.
we shouldn't forget about the human element here.
Right.
These are real people, each with their own unique story and drive.
It's so easy to get caught up in the numbers and forget that behind every data point
Yes.
is an individual pursuing knowledge in their own way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we can get so caught up in analyzing the factors behind success that we forget about the individuals themselves.
So what does this all mean if institutional factors aren't the main drivers?
Yeah.
Are we seeing some kind of shift in the academic landscape?
Maybe the study seems to suggest that a passion for research combined with that international collaboration and academic seniority might be the key ingredients in the recipe for success.
And what about the 10-50 rule? Is it just a natural thing, or could it point towards some biases in the research system?
That's a great question. You know, if a small percentage of researchers are producing the majority of the output,
Right.
does that mean that the system is unintentionally favoring a select few?
Are we accidentally creating a research elite while others are struggling to make their mark?
It's complicated. On the one hand, it makes sense that the most experienced and dedicated researchers would be the most productive.
Right.
But we also need to make sure that research systems are inclusive and provide opportunities for everyone to thrive.
It's about finding that balance
Yeah.
between recognizing and rewarding excellence while also fostering a diverse and supportive research environment.
Exactly. If we want to see a wider range of perspectives and ideas in research, we need to create systems that support both established researchers and those just starting out.
So we've uncovered some surprising things about Europe's top researchers.
We have.
They're not just solitary geniuses working away in isolation. International collaboration and a real passion for their work seem to play a huge role.
Absolutely.
And while institutional factors might not be the main drivers of success, they still have an important role to play in creating an environment where researchers can do well.
For sure.
It's not just about throwing money at the problem. It's about fostering that culture of collaboration, mentorship, and support.
Couldn't agree more. We need to nurture that next generation of researchers and make sure that Sacred Spark keeps igniting discoveries for years to come.
It's really interesting to think that this sacred spark could be like the key ingredient. Do you think it's something you're born with, or can you like cultivate it?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I don't think the study really gives us a clear answer.
Yeah.
But it definitely suggests that there's something special about these top researchers, you know, this drive that really pushes them to excel.
It makes you think about the implications for research as a whole, too.
Yeah.
If a small group is responsible for so much of the output, what does that mean for diversity,
Yeah.
you know, in terms of ideas and perspectives in the field?
Yeah, that's a really important point, and we've already talked about, you know, maybe the downsides of too much focus on international collaboration.
Right.
But this 10-50 rule kind of adds another layer to it all.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if we're accidentally creating a system that favors a certain type of researcher,
Right.
you know, maybe at the expense of others who could also have valuable things to contribute.
Yeah, it's like we're creating a research elite without meaning to, And meanwhile, other people are struggling to even get their work recognized or funded.
Exactly. And that brings up some important questions about how we evaluate research and how we support it.
Right.
Are we prioritizing certain types of research over others? Are we overlooking talented people just because they don't fit a certain mold?
It's a really complex issue, and I don't think there are any easy answers.
No,
But it's definitely something we need to be aware of when we think about the future of research.
absolutely.
We want a system that's both rigorous and inclusive one that encourages different perspectives and different approaches.
I agree. We need a system that supports established researchers, but also those who are just starting out.
Yeah.
A system that values not just productivity, but also creativity and originality and the potential for impact.
And maybe, just maybe, we need to find ways to nurture that sacred spark in more people.
Yeah.
If it really is the key to success, we should be doing everything we can to help it grow.
Absolutely. We need to think about mentorship programs, funding opportunities, and even the culture of academia itself.
Yeah.
How can we create an environment that encourages risks and collaboration and just a genuine passion for discovery?
It's a challenge, but it's exciting, you know?
Yes,
Because ultimately, we all benefit from a thriving and diverse research environment.
for sure.
It's the engine that drives innovation and solves problems and helps us understand the world.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's not just about the research itself, it's
Yeah.
about the people behind it, their passions, their struggles, their triumphs.
This has been a really insightful look at the world of research and the people who dedicate their lives to it.
I agree. It's been fascinating to explore all these factors that contribute to research success, from individual motivations to those bigger institutional structures.
And even though the data we've talked about paints a pretty complex picture,
Yeah.
I'm actually feeling optimistic.
Oh, optimistic. Why is that?
Because despite all the challenges, there's this clear sense that research is ultimately driven by this very human desire to understand the world around us.
Right.
And that's a powerful force.
It is that curiosity, that drive to explore and to discover. That's what makes research so important.
To everyone listening out there who shares that passion,
Yeah.
whether you're a seasoned researcher or just starting out, remember that your work is important.
Yes.
You have the potential to make a real difference in the world.
Absolutely. Never underestimate the power of your ideas, your curiosity, your dedication to pushing those boundaries.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's hold on to that sense of wonder, a thirst for knowledge, and a commitment to making a positive impact through our work.
It's been great to be here with you on this journey.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for being a part of the deep dive. We hope this episode has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to keep exploring this amazing world around us. It makes you think how this research would apply to other parts of the world,
Yeah.
like the study focused on Europe.
Right.
But do you think those same patterns would show up if we looked at research in other places, like Asia, Africa, or the Americas?
That's a really interesting question. It would be fascinating to see how different cultures and funding structures, even political landscapes, could influence research
Yeah.
and what people choose to focus on.
Like imagine comparing the academic culture at like a big research university in the U.S.
Right.
to a small research institute in a developing country.
Yeah.
I bet we'd see some huge differences, but maybe also some similarities we wouldn't expect.
I think you're right. There's something universal about the pursuit of knowledge,
Yeah.
but the way it's structured and supported that can be totally different.
Right.
It makes me think about that Sacred Spark study again. Maybe that drive to do research goes beyond borders and cultures.
Right.
But how it shows up could be shaped by the environment.
Like maybe a researcher in a country with very little funding has that same sacred spark. But they have to be super creative to overcome those challenges.
Absolutely. And I think we can all learn a lot from each other.
Yeah.
By looking at how research works in different parts of the world,
Right.
we might find new ways to do things better,
Yeah.
innovative approaches and ways to work together that benefit everyone.
It's like that cross-pollination idea we talked about, but on a global scale.
Exactly.
Imagine the amazing things we could discover if we could really harness all the knowledge and creativity of researchers all over the planet.
It's pretty exciting to think about.
It is.
And breaking down those barriers and having a truly global research community
Yeah.
where ideas can flow freely and people can collaborate no matter where they are.
What do you think the future holds for research? Will we see more collaborations between different fields, more global partnerships, more citizen science projects?
I think we're already seeing those things starting to happen.
Yeah.
And I think they'll just keep growing.
Yeah.
We live in a world where information is so easy to access.
Right.
And that's creating amazing opportunities to work together and come up with new ideas.
And to everyone listening who's part of that global research community
Yeah.
or wants to be, remember that you have a role to play in shaping that future.
Absolutely.
Keep asking questions. Keep pushing those boundaries. Keep that sacred spark burning bright.
The world needs your curiosity, your insights, your passion to discover new things.
Yeah.
The future of research and really the future of our world depends on it.
As we wrap up this deep dive into the world of research, let's remember that feeling of wonder,
Yeah.
that thirst for knowledge, and our commitment to making a positive impact.
It's been great being here with you on this journey.
And to all our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive. We hope this has made you curious and inspired you to keep exploring this amazing world around us.